Okay, next question is question number 4, C part, in which we have given two functions f and g, and we have to sketch the curve for y is equals to g of x, and also we have to sketch the equation for y is equals to g inverse of x. So in order to do the sketching, you must have to keep in your mind, you must be familiar with domain and codomain. You know the points. Because in the x-axis and y-axis, if you want to do the graphing, definitely you must need the values of x and values of y as well in order to choose the point and connect it and having this type of shape like that, for example. So in order to do the plotting, it's necessary that we know the domain and codomain for it. First of all, I will find the domain and codomain for g of x. So my g of x is equals to 5 minus 2x square, and I know that I can put g of x is equals to y, and as a whole I have y is equals to 5 minus 2x square. Now I will choose different points of x and different points of y in order to determine the domain and codomain. Here I will choose some restrictions over here. For example, I'm going to choose y is equals to 0 initially. Just a second. I'm going to restrict like I have y is equals to 0. Means I'm talking about x-axis. So when my y is equals to 0, what happens to it? In this equation number 1 that is under this pink marker, I have to put back y is equals to 0. That gives me 0 is equals to 5 minus 2x square, and 5 is equals to 2x square, and x square is equals to square root of 5 by 2 whole side square, and that gives x is equals to plus minus square root of 5 by 2. Let me rewrite. Five by 2 is equals to x square, and x is equals to plus minus square root of 5 by 2. If you go back to the question, you can see there is a restriction, x should be less than 0. So if x should be less than 0, it means that there is only possibility that I can choose is x should be minus square root 5 by 2. Other than that, it's not possible to choose the positive one because it's restriction to me. I have to choose the negative value. So x would be equals to negative 5 by 2. When my y is 0, my axis seems to be negative 5 by 2. So I will include this point. When my x is square root minus 5 by 2, then my y value is 0. This is my first point, P1. Now I have to find the second point, P2. So in order to find P2, I will choose my x is equals to 0. Initially I choose y is equals to 0 and figure out the point of x. Now I choose x is equals to 0 and I will find the point of y. So when my x is equals to 0, in the equation number 1, that was y is equals to 5 minus 2x square, that was my equation, so I have to plug back x is equals to 0. My y will become 5 minus 2 times of 0 and y is equals to 5. It means that I have second point, when x is 0, y would be 5. This is my P2. Now I have 2 points. I will include over here, that was minus square root 5 by 2 and 0, that was my P1, and other one is 0 and 5, my P2. Now I am going to make a graph for it. Graph for g of x, because I did not find the inverse yet. This is only for a normal function, that is g of x. So x values are seems to be domain that are under with this white marker. They are domain, and y values that are 0 and 5, that will be codomain. I have to plot these terms over the graph. So this is my y-axis, this is my x-axis. If I have minus square root 5 by 2 as a value of x, my y value will be 0. You know that on x-axis your y value is 0, and on y-axis your x value is 0. So minus 5 by 2 is approximately lying over here, this one. So when my x value is minus 5 by 2, your y value seems to be 0. So this is your first point, P1. If your x value is 0, your y value is 5. For example, here is your 5. This is your second point, that is seems to be P2. Now you have to join the points. It will be like that. Like that. Yes. Now you want to find the inverse function. This graph that is for the red one is basically the graph for g of x. Now I have to find the graph for g inverse of x as well. That would be with pink marker. So g inverse of x graph would be swapping the values x and y. So 0 and 5 minus 5 by 2 will be swapped. So it would be 0 and square root minus 5 by 2. That is my P1. And 5 and 0 my P2. Just like I told you in the previous lecture, when you are talking about inverse of a function, your domain and codomain will be swapped. So 0 for the red one, minus square root 5 by 2 and 0 were domain, and 0 and 5 will be codomain. But here I just swap it. Now 0 and 5 are domain, this portion, and the other portion will be codomain. Now I have to plot these domains and codomains over this graph. How I can? First of all, I will plot my P1. P1 is 0 and minus 5 by 2. 0 and minus 5 by 2 is approximately lying over x seems to be 0 and y seems to be minus square root 5 by 2. So this is approximately lying over here. Other one is when x is equals to 5, my y value is 0. This is like that, the second point. So second point graph would be like that. Now I will extend this graph in order to consider the point of intersection. So this graph would be extended up to this point, and this graph would be extended up to this point, like that. So this one will be the graph for g inverse of x, and this is the red one will be the graph for g of x, and this is actually the point of intersection at which both the graphs are cutting each other. So this is my P1, this is my P2. In this way you can do the graphing.